Time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition. Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and the first episode of a new sub-series on the podcast for Star Wars Ahsoka. We're super excited to get into part 1 and part 2. That's Master and Apprentice and Toil and Trouble. And we got our esteemed co-host Blake right here on the podcast, as well as our good friend Dan, who's joined the podcast before, so you might recognize him as well. And we're just going to be making connections and more and just kind of getting right into the nitty-gritty, making some of those connections with Star Wars Rebels Season 4 finale, and speculating a little bit on what some of these mysteries are that the show has in store for us. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
The evil galactic empire has fallen, and a new republic has risen to take its place. However, sinister agents are already at work to undermine the fragile peace. A plot is underway to find the lost Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn and bring him out of exile. Once presumed dead, rumors are spreading of Thrawn's return, which would galvanize the Imperial remnants and start another war. Former Jedi Knight Ahsoka Tano captured one of Thrawn's allies and learned of a secret map, which is vital to the enemy's plan. Ahsoka now searches for the map as her prisoner, Morgan Elsbeth, is transported to the New Republic for trial. All right, this is it. Welcome back, guys.
Good to be here, as always. Another exciting show. Looking forward to it.
Another exciting show indeed. And with us, we have Dan. Welcome back, Dan.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Everyone having a good laugh at my intro there.
Not expecting that, nope.
Figured I'd try something new. Yeah, I mean, wow, what an episode. I mean, we've been looking forward to the show for a long time. And, those of us who've kind of seen Star Wars Rebels and been invested in that show, you'll hear the theme of Rebels playing behind me now, which is so cool because the ending credits for this show ties together a theme that was constructed by Kevin Kiner, the composer of Clone Wars and Rebels and Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi and now Ahsoka as well.
So this is his first live action?
First live action, I think.
You did a good job.
Within Star Wars.
Maybe a little bit too Game of Thrones, but I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right? Like, I like the whole map thing, the galaxy map, thing at the end, but yeah, I mean the theme though, the music is phenomenal and it ties together Ahsoka and Rebels, and then Ahsoka's theme from Clone Wars, and just kind of makes this sort of musical journey going backwards a little bit through the theme, and I like that so much, right?
Kind of all the different stuff being tied together.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. But yeah, let's talk about part 1, Master and Apprentice. What I'll do is I'll read the summary here, and I'll also just kind of give off some stats as to like who wrote and directed the show or the episode, and then we'll talk about some different notes. I mean, I'm sure we all have kind of things we want to bring up, and then we'll move on to episode 2. So full spoilers ahead for anyone who has not seen these episodes. Just keep in mind we're going to be going into full spoiler territory here, and with that said, I mean, let's get into it. So, Ahsoka, Episode 1, Part 1, that is, Master and Apprentice. This episode was directed by Dave Filoni, written by Dave Filoni, and was released August 22nd, 2023. Baylan Skoll, a former Jedi, is now working as a mercenary, and his apprentice Shin Hati assault a New Republic cruiser carrying Lady Morgan Elsbeth, who had previously been captured by Ahsoka Tano back in Mandalorian Season 2, I believe.
That sounds right, yeah.
The pair rescue Lady Elsbeth, who informs Skoll that Ahsoka is searching for Thrawn. Ahsoka and Hu Yang obtain a star map to the location of Grand Admiral Thrawn and potentially Ezra Bridger before being informed of Lady Elsbeth's escape. Regrouping with the fleet, Ahsoka meets with General Hera Syndulla, whereupon Hu Yang reveals that the star map is locked. Syndulla advises Ahsoka to obtain Sabine Wren's help to unlock the map. Just as Wren unlocks the map, she is confronted by Shin, who steals the map and stabs Wren during the duel. And with that said, let's get into it. How did you guys like this episode? Maybe we can start with you, Dan. Just off the top of your head before we get into it.
I really enjoyed it.
Was it a good kickoff episode for you?
Yeah, like, I'm a big fan of Star Wars Rebels, and this is fully Rebels Season 5. Like, it had the feel, obviously the look.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I had read online that from some reviews that people had issues with pacing and stuff, but to me it felt like, just like Rebels, like you have your slow quiet moments and then you had your action scenes, and I have no complaints really.
I think that's kind of a common thing with a lot of the Star Wars shows. I feel like the first episode is always a little bit slow. I'm guessing that's why they always release 2, because it seems like they do that every time, every season 100%. Release. So
after they get the map and everything, feels a bit slower maybe, but I think it needs that, like it needs this kind of slow
introducing characters again, right?
Yeah. Like we don't want it to feel like Mandalorian Season 2 when all of a sudden it's just action and like cameos and this and that. They're slowly kind of taking us into this story that a lot of people have not seen Star Wars Rebels, right? Like, and that's like an important thing to remember.
And they're very unapologetic about it. Like he doesn't lay down a lot of exposition. He doesn't. They fill you in some details, but yeah, if you don't know anything about Rebels, like I can see people being lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially like not knowing who these characters are. Like but to me, I like that. I like that he's not holding the viewer's hand, and like having to over-explain stuff. Like
usually
there's all these other shows to watch if you want the backstory, and if not, hopefully you can follow along.
Right.
Yeah, there was a few awkward exposition moments, I know, of Ahsoka talking, explaining some stuff, but that was really it that stood out to me.
Yeah, I felt you there. Yeah. Would you say it's jarring, or no? It's not like Bad Batch jarring, right? Like,
no, it's not like
let's summarize the plot that we just saw everyone witness. No, it was okay. I mean,
oh no, do they do that a lot in Bad Batch?
They did it once, and it stuck out to us like a sore thumb.
It was really awkward.
And then it happened again in one of the Rebels episodes we were reviewing recently, I think.
But not to the same level.
No, not to the same level. No, the one in Bad Batch was just terrible.
It felt like a kid's, 24-part Monster of the Week series where they just have like some moral conclusion at the end they all talk about.
Yeah. Let me see here. We kick things off with these Jedi, dark Jedi.
Let's not get that far yet. We got to talk about the crawl.
Oh, the crawl, of course. Well, I mean, the crawl I just read out, but
you read out. We didn't talk about it though. This is the first series to have a crawl, if you want to call it that. And I thought it was extremely awkward, mainly because it wasn't a traditional crawl. I hated the font. I thought the color was terrible, and it looked like something that you would have done in high school. That's what it reminded me of.
Thanks.
It reminded me of your high school videos.
The crawl.
What a compliment. Dan, what did you think about the crawl?
It didn't bother me at all. I was like, okay, cool. That's right. This is a Star Wars show. Like, it's first time we're seeing a crawl. Like, Is it the first show that's had a crawl?
We had
Nobody's...
Solo. Solo, a Star Wars story, had a bit of a opening text moment.
Was it similar as a text, not really a crawl, because it doesn't go across the screen.
No, it doesn't scroll up past the screen, but I think it's like paragraphs that kind of fade on and off, like as it opens up, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean I think that's the only time we've ever had it.
I'm okay with
it. It really
didn't
bother me.
For me, it was the font and the color. It didn't look like Star Wars to me.
I didn't mind the color.
Professional Star Wars.
I didn't mind the color. The whole red theme going on, like, you know, I'm digging it. Like the whole Lucasfilm logo was red and just kind of flows in with the whole kind of.
Why is it red?
I don't know. I think it's just sort of a way of saying, like, you know, evil's coming into the galaxy.
Yeah,
again.
I saw a video where they're saying like it's red because it's foreshadowing the rise of the First Order.
Okay. Yeah, that's possibly one. Here's another.
That's why I don't like it.
Here's another theory for you. I mean, Thrawn's eyes are red. Also, the Seventh Fleet. You know, Thrawn's battalion. If you look up the Seventh Fleet logo, there's a red ring around it, and inside the logo, it's black and white. So, like, there's a lot of red kind of surrounding, you know, the Grand Admiral. We open things up with an Ada class shuttle, Republic era, approaching a New Republic star cruiser of some kind. And this is a ship that we've seen a lot in Clone Wars. Any Clone Wars fans out there would have, you know, instantly recognized it. Is a sort of like a adventurous shuttle that the Jedi kind of took around from place to place back in the Clone Wars. Did you guys recognize that shuttle?
The T6?
No, it's not a T6. It's the one that is the Ada class shuttle with the
the old one.
The Republic era old.
I recognized, but wasn't sure where it's from. Is it from prequels, or is that supposed to be
Clone Wars? It's Clone Wars.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
But it's all like beaten up and rusted and everything.
With the one that Shin and Balin are using. Yeah. I don't know. Was it rusted? Can't remember.
I think it had that look to it. Like it was all like beaten up.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, well, just gnarly.
Just from the shot behind, like it approaching, I was like, oh, I know exactly what that ship is. And I love how like they're like, oh yeah, it's an old Jedi code, and it's like, dude, who are these guys? Like, where'd they come from? Where have they been all these years? You know, like all these questions that I have. That
I really enjoyed that opening. Like, I liked how cocky the captain was. He's like, oh, like I'm gonna take care of these guys. Like, they're not Jedi.
Yeah.
Did it feel a bit Star Trek-y though? Seeing the captain on the bridge and everyone's random and he's kind of laying out orders. Like, I got major Star Trek vibes.
Yeah,
like,
a little bit. Like, you know, I'm going to go down there. My number 2, you take over. Like, you got the bridge. Like, but I mean, I think that's standard Navy stuff, right? Like,
fair enough. I think for me, it was also a big part of like the layout of the set. Like, it looked like the Enterprise.
I think all the Mon Calamari, they look very white and enterprisey, don't they?
Maybe it's also the camera angles then, because I'm thinking to Rogue One and Return of the Jedi, you see a lot more of the guy in the ship with the captain in his chair with a lot of panels.
Right.
You didn't really get that here.
No, yeah, not as much.
It was just this captain it felt like Kirk.
See, to me, okay, I'm going to say this up front, and, you know, I'll reflect things as we talk about this episode going forward, but I just thought this episode, there were these 2 episodes, this one specifically, had Phantom Menace vibes written all over it.
For sure. It totally reminded me of Qui-Gon and Ben, like, arriving on that ship at the beginning of Phantom Menace, and like...
Totally. The whole thing was just like it's like a backwards Phantom Menace, except this time it's like dark Jedi and not, you know, actual Jedi, but they got their hoods up and everything like that. And then, you know, they surprise the people on board the ship with their lightsabers and, you know, go all Jedi-like on them, except this one was super messed up. And, you know, it was great. Like, I loved it. It was super cool. And you know, they're there to break Morgan Elsbeth out, which, you know, we last saw her in season 2 of Mandalorian when Ahsoka, you know, fights her in that town that she's ruling over as the magistrate. and she beats him and wins over the Beskar staff that she gives to Din Djarin. And her last question before we see her, no longer on screen anymore is, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? So, she's been looking for Thrawn for a while. And
I had forgotten she was Night Sister.
Yeah, well,
did they say that?
They never said that in Mandalorian. In Mandalorian, they never said that. In this show, they sort of did.
Mm-hmm.
So in the episode 2, they actually kind of revealed that her ancestors are Night Sisters.
Do you think that's a retcon? Do you think they changed that?
Well, her costume and her hair haven't changed since Mandalorian. Like, it's all been very consistent. I don't think it's super.
Her costume looked more Night Sistery here, I thought.
I think it's the same dress.
Okay, I have to check. What, like the red one?
Yeah,
with the frilly
red
shoulders.
dress. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, maybe slightly
I just
different,
didn't notice
but
the first time.
slightly different. But I think it was still red in Mando. But it was interesting because even though Grievous went in during the Clone Wars and wiped out all of the Night Sisters, essentially, there's still got to be survivors. I mean, we know from the Jedi.
Well, we know from Survivor.
Yeah.
Survivor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we were talking about that down on the game review, what's her name? Marin.
Mm-hmm.
Great character. She's a surviving Night Sister, so it's not like implausible to think there's a few running around out there. What's even more cool to think is like one of them's actually allies with Thrawn for some reason. Like, that's interesting.
So they all have different allegiances now that they've been off planet rooted out by General Grievous.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see here. The relationship between Sabine and Ahsoka. Do you guys want to talk about Ahsoka breaking out that map, or should we just skip forward a little bit?
I think we should talk about like how awesome. I thought, rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. I thought he was great as. As the Jedi. What's his name?
Baylan Skoll.
Baylan Skoll. Like, I thought him and I liked his apprentice.
Yeah, Shin Hati.
Yeah, I thought they were great. Like,
yeah,
I thought so too. It makes me really disappointed that we're not gonna get the same actor in any. There's another season or something.
Yeah,
we don't know what's gonna happen.
We don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah, I mean that's a great point to make. Who knows?
Because he passed after they were done filming, right? So that could potentially change anything in the future,
right?
Unless they face
we'll see what
AI
happens
or
with
something.
the character, whether he survives.
Yeah. He was most notably portraying an animated character before this role, so a lot of people might recognize his voice as Gar Saxon from Clone Wars and Rebels. So he's been in the Lucasfilm family for a little while.
Like the Mandalorian?
The Mandalorian guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he did the voice.
Yeah. Ray Stevenson, right?
So we can't use that to speculate that that's the Jedi he was then.
No.
No, he's different. But yeah, he did I've got the right character, right?
Yeah.
Ray
Baylan Skoll.
Yeah,
Ray Stevenson.
Yeah. Yeah, Gar Saxon. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, yeah. So there you go. And
do you guys know who the captain was? He was he was on Aliens as a Private Drake.
Oh, was he? See, one
of the Marines.
Was he in like the first Aliens movie?
The second one.
No, the second one.
Oh, the second one. Okay. I can't even remember if I've seen that one or not.
I heard a funny story about Aliens today, actually, so I feel like I should share it.
Go for it.
So apparently, James Cameron, when he went to pitch Aliens, like the second movie, to the studio, he went up to a whiteboard and he wrote Alien, and he turned to them, and he turned back, and he put a dollar sign at the end.
Yeah.
And they're like, approved. I don't know if it's true, but I thought it was a funny story.
Nice. It's a great point to make. I really love that sequence where Ahsoka gets that map, the golden map that leads to Treasure Planet.
Dude, it looks so much like the Treasure Planet. Like, I thought the exact same thing.
It even works the same. Like,
I know.
It turns and twists, and there's like buttons on it.
They just ripped it off.
Yeah, they just straight out took it on the Disney movie.
So, is that stealing like Disney copyright? because it technically is Disney.
Well,
So
even the way it opens up, man, like the way that
and the beam
map,
with the map.
yeah,
I thought the exact same thing.
plus in the movie in Treasure Planet when they put the ball on like the pedestal when they're on Treasure Planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like a groove in the ground for them to like put it into,
Right, yeah, and then it lights everything
and
up.
then it's like the portal opens up and this big globe appears and like they can go anywhere and stuff like that. But like essentially the planet is like,
Because that happens in season 2.
sorry,
episode 2.
Episode 2,
Yeah.
in episode 2, like on a specific planet, there's like a pedestal where they put it in,
Yeah.
and it like activates the map, and they can like go anywhere basically with this giant holographic compass. Is what and that's getting ahead. We'll talk about it in a moment. But
Yeah, it's basically just Treasure Planet.
it's just Treasure Planet. I was like, man, this is actually like I'm kind of digging this. It makes me want a Treasure Planet movie even more.
You should do a back-to-back clip and put it on the YouTube.
Compare the two, if it's not already there.
Yeah, it probably is now.
Oh man, yeah. Dun, dun, dun,
It
dun.
reminded me of Raiders of the Lost Ark, like when he's like in that one tomb and he has like the staff and the light comes through and shows him where to go. Like,
Oh yeah.
kind of reminded me of
Some indie vibes going on. Yeah, I can see that. I really like though, because at first when we're watching this episode, you have no idea what kind of symbolism is going on here with these creepy looking humanoid.
I guess they're Night Sisters.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be Night Sister planet. We find out.
Exactly. Yeah, and they look weirdly, eerily like Mother Talzin a little bit with the kind of the shaped face that they have going on. Very like long jawed and sort of kind of creepy with their hoods and cloaks and everything like that, and they're all holding the this orb. But I was like, whoa, like that's pretty sweet, because we don't really know a whole lot about the Night Sisters. We pretty much everything we know is from the Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor series and a little bit in Clone Wars, and we had a touch up on in Rebels. We had that one
episode.
the one episode, yeah, but that was it. We don't, in canon, we don't have any real presence from the Night Sisters too much, and now we find out that Morgan is one of them, and that this map is like kind of like from them. Like,
Well, it's season 2, I guess we're getting into.
Episode 2?
Yeah, they talk. I think they talked about this a little bit. Sorry, I keep saying season 2, episode 2. I don't know why I'm saying that. Too much Rebels, I guess.
too much Rebels. Yeah.
They talk about how it was built by a ancient race from a far galaxy.
Yeah.
So I think it's supposed to be created by them,
By the Night Sisters.
created by the ancient race and was left behind.
I think it's not.
Yeah,
That's what it's.
isn't that like Bronze Race?
The Chiss. This
I don't think that's who they're talking about.
Chiss is from the known. Well, they're from outside of known space, but they're on the very, very far edges of the galaxy.
Still
so
this galaxy.
It's still this galaxy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do know that the Night Sisters' original home is not Dathomir.
Oh, so you think they might be
really?
from an outside galaxy?
Well, they're the enslaving species there. Don't forget. There's
Yeah.
they're the dominant piece on that planet, essentially, because they're the ones that
Zabraks.
use. Yes, yeah, exactly. The Zabraks are actually the ones that are originally from there, I believe.
Dathomir, yeah.
Yeah, Dathomir, yeah, and the Night Sisters show up, and they basically, turn the Zabraks into their mates. They start they enslave the Zabraks. They make them their mates. They pit them against each other to fight in fighting pits, right? Like they're
Are you with me, brother?
yeah.
Are you with me, brother?
But yeah, and it's kind of interesting to think that maybe like these witches, because they're so weird and out there, right? Like
With
maybe
their magic and stuff.
yeah, with their magic and stuff. Like maybe they're from another galaxy entirely. Like maybe that's where they're going with all of
That'd
this.
be kind of neat if they did that. Do you
Yeah.
like this idea of there being a whole nother galaxy?
I mean, it's the universe, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, not the galaxies in the universe.
because I was trying to. That's a great question though, because it's a simple question, but it's a great question because like we got to ask ourselves like, like do we like the idea of like there being other galaxies that are told within this story, right? But Star Wars from the very, very, very beginning, right? It always opened up with a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
They got to add that $sign to the end now.
Well, I mean, what I mean is like, the story in George's head for forever, forever, amen, essentially has been that this story has happened in a galaxy far, far away, right? In our universe. So like, it's not super far-fetched to think maybe there's a nearby galaxy to theirs that has beings that maybe migrated over, right? And in Jedi Fallen Order, Dan, you might remember the Zepho.
Yeah.
Yeah, species that kind of came from afar and left, and they sort of, there was a downfall of the whole civilization, and they kind of ended up leaving that entire galaxy altogether. And
so it could be them that did this.
Maybe, or maybe they're from.
Or
the
what
same
was that
galaxy.
other race that was in Jedi Survivor? Like they hinted at it. They were in the high, what's it called? There's that race that like they go around and destroy stuff.
Oh man, are you? Yeah, no, it's in the first game.
No, and Jedi Survivor, like they hint at there's this other race.
Using Vaughn.
Oh, the Nihil.
Yeah,
right.
Are they from another galaxy, or are they from the same?
They're from known. Yeah, they're from this galaxy as well.
Okay.
They're just essentially a band of pirates that come up with a giant army of other pirates and start raiding the galaxy at a time when space hadn't been explored too much. But
yeah, they're basically like the bad guy raiders from Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like Fury Road is basically what they are.
Yeah. But basically, I mean, like there's really not a whole lot of options as to like, kind of who could be out there kind of thing. But
unless they introduce a whole new race, but
right.
It seems like they would. I think you're right. I think it might be the Zepho.
Yeah. Zepho, or, and we don't know a whole lot about the Night Sisters. Maybe they are from that part of the galaxy or that part of the universe, I guess. It's kind of a cool thought, but like I can dig it. Like, I'll get used to this pretty quick, I think.
I don't have a concern really with that. Where I get kind of annoyed is what are the chances? Because we know like Thrawn, when he disappeared, they just got lost into deep space because he's attached to Purrgil.
Right.
So what are the chances that he ended up the place where this ancient map happens to be?
So that's
how do they figure that out?
I have an answer.
Okay.
So I think the map might be based off of like their the Purrgil's like migrations. Like they know that whoever made that map knows that the Purrgil migrate to other galaxies, and then if the one girl, the Night Witch girl, if she knows that like Thrawn was trapped on this ship with the Purrgil migrating, then they're like, maybe that's leads to where he went.
Yeah, I have that question too, though, because that's an interesting theory. I think it's a little far-fetched to believe, and I can understand the criticism, because my criticism about The Rise of Skywalker has always been, why is there a dagger that's designed to look like the Death Star? It's like remnants sunk into the ocean. Like, it's stupid, like this is supposed to be an ancient dagger, and it's like, is that a coincidence, or like was this dagger actually made for that, or like what, right? And at the same time, I was just like, I think to myself, like, okay, this map points to an entire new galaxy out there that like pretty much no one can get to, because not only do they need a certain special type of hyperdrive technology to get there, but they don't even know where the heck they're going, because no one's ever gone that far, and their Navi computers just don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. But the Purrgil do. And so, anyone who did watch season 4 of Star Wars Rebels, maybe we'll just quickly talk about it for a moment. Ezra, who's a Jedi Padawan, he started fighting Thrawn in the end of the season 4 finale of Rebels. And, at some point on Rebels Talk, we'll wrap this.
Spoilers to anyone following that.
Yeah, we'll wrap up that after show pretty soon. But yeah, spoilers ahead. But yeah, I mean, like essentially, he sacrifices himself, he's got a special connection with the Purrgil to, and they show up and they wrap their tentacles around the Chimera, Thrawn's ship, and Thrawn, a bunch of Imperials, and Ezra go shooting off in a hyperspace, who knows where. Because these Purrgils can make hyperspace jumps organically. and they're animals, so they don't even know. Like, I mean, like they don't have a computer. Like they just know where they're going, right?
It's just instinct.
So like the question that I have is like, did Ezra tell them to go there? We know that there was some weird stuff going on with him on Lothal when he was meditating. You know, there's not a lot of answers to what and why he made those decisions. You know, maybe the Force just guided him in that moment, and that's just the answer for it. But you know, it's very likely that the Purgles took them to this other galaxy, and that's why they've been missing, right? Because they just can't get back. You know, they're stuck. They're marooned in an entire new galaxy where, like,
why didn't they just attach themselves to Purgle again?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
Purgle it back.
That's another question, right? That's another question I have. I guess going back to the
make
map.
A chariot of Purgles.
Going back to the map though, like, why would this laser point to the exact place in that galaxy as to where they are if it's that old, right? Or maybe it's pointing to a place as to where they start, and like from there maybe they can figure it out, right? Something like that. Who knows? But yeah, it's kind of weird to think maybe Dan's right. Maybe you're right, man. Maybe the Purgle, maybe there's like one special particular route through hyperspace, and it's just one thread.
That race that built that like Stonehenge site where they got the map, like, yeah, maybe that's where they traveled from. So it points to their home, right? And that's the same route that the Purgle, you know, like say it's like, you know, like a First Nation tribe follows the migration of like orcas or something to Alaska, and they're like, okay, this is from our home to that place. Yeah. You know, just on a much grander scale.
That's a great point
like
to
maybe
make.
they're following Purgle to this galaxy, and then they built like their temple.
Maybe they got stuck here, and that's why.
Yeah,
the Sisters got here.
Right. So you're saying that whoever made the map migrated to the Star Wars galaxy, you know, via the Purgle, and this map reflects their path between the original galaxy and that galaxy, hence where they built that base, right? And now going backwards, you know, Ezra and Thrawn shoot off in hyperspace via the Purgle, and they've gone to that place, right? So it's like a kind of a triangle going on. But,
and you know what? This is me speculating to you, but the credit scene basically explains this. This is what it looks like. You think about it.
The credit scene,
because it looks it's like a
lines.
Yeah, it's like galaxy map, and it's like they're jumping between systems, and then there's a part where it shows a bunch of Purgles and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And like one gap between two systems is like really far for some reason.
Is it super far fetched to believe that there's only one way there?
That's speculation,
like,
of course.
Is it maybe like that's just a simple answer? There's only one route through hyperspace to get to that galaxy, because like
a wormhole that they travel through,
right?
Travel along.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. It's interesting. Anyways, yeah, great subject. Not to linger on it, but
it need to be said, because that was one of the most annoying parts of the show for me.
Totally.
Why is there a treasure planet sphere that just points to Thrawn?
Yeah.
Totally took me out at first until I like thought about it, and it was like, why is this map here that like
it's so convenient?
Like,
yeah. It's like, why is there an ancient map that leads to a character that just...
Dave Filoni's a pretty good writer. I think he has it all planned out, and like they'll probably go in more into it later.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I have faith. Faith in Dave Filoni. Yeah, so this was a pretty cool scene when you know, we see Sabine for the first time. Well, we see Hera as well. It's so cool to see Hera in live action.
I liked her punk intro, by the way, for Sabine.
Sabine was great. Yeah, the punk intro. I love it as well. You know, like there was a tweet that I saw of you know, someone was asking, I think it was UTNE. They were like, what song should have been played, you know, during the speeder scene, right? And all I could think of was this song by the Quemist, Stomp Box. You feeling it?
Sure.
All right, just wait.
Okay.
Just imagine someone going like friggin' rocket speed down a long highway on a speeder, right? Wait for the drops. Right now.
Okay, a little bit better.
Yeah, right.
Just hair blowing behind the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can we just appreciate that she was on a fast speeder and not a moped?
Yes.
Needed to be said.
Actual speeder chase going on.
Actual
Yeah.
speeder and like, yeah, and she actually traveled fast distances. And I thought they casted her perfectly. Like she was, to me, she was Sabine. Like she did a great.
100%.
I agree entirely. Yeah, she was really well cast. And I can't say personally the same for Hera.
Yeah.
I'm not quite on board with Hera yet. Like she played her very subdued and like.
It's the voice.
I mean, I know now.
I thought the same thing.
It's the voice. It's a little bit like how it took me a while to get used to Ahsoka in live action too. I think it'll take a while with Hera, but the voice that Vanessa Marshall gives Hera in the animated series,
it's more motherly.
It's very motherly. Yeah,
it's her speech pattern is so different. It's funny because if I think of the lines from episode 1 and 2 here in my head, I can say them how Hera from Rebels would say it, and it's so different from how it's delivered by this actress.
I feel you entirely,
and it annoys the crap out of me.
Yeah,
it just feels like a different character.
Right.
Do you think maybe she needs to break out into her original accent, Hera's original accent?
The French accent or whatever?
No, I think that would make it worse.
Sacre bleu!
Yeah, people would be even more confused if they skipped one Rebels episode.
Yes, true.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. But Sabine was great. So, that was really cool. And Chopper is always fantastic. Chopper, we see Chopper in live action as well.
I was so happy to see Chopper.
So good.
But why is he complaining about Hera going through his stuff while he's just chucking it out?
I laughed pretty hard at that scene. I was like, yeah, he's just going. He's like an old man going through his stuff, just like tossing stuff
was
behind.
There any Easter eggs in there? Like I know they kind of paused on one thing, and he tosses it, and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to know what that was.
It was like a
did
chip
you
with some
recognize
wires
anything?
or something.
From memory, I can't recall.
I didn't recognize it.
It just all looked like junk to me. I like to think that it was all just scraps of junk, though. You know what I mean?
Just collected.
Yeah. Just this old crazy droid, just collecting pieces of crap.
Trophies.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. Very cool. I think that was the second. Was that the second?
That was episode 2. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We're all
Sorry,
over the
don't
place.
mean to jump in.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
We just get excited.
Yeah, totally. All right. Let me see here. Let's talk about the whole Sabine Ahsoka thing, because this episode, what really focused on in the story was the hesitancy between Ahsoka to go back to Sabine with a need for help, right? And something's happened there, and it's we haven't really figured out what it is, other than the fact that Ahsoka left her because she felt that Sabine wasn't ready to be an apprentice of any kind, right? And I don't know. Personally, I think I've just got one lingering question, right? Because we'll find out what happens. I'm assuming. I'm assuming, like any story, we'll find out what that big deal is, if there's more details to it. But my question for you guys is, like, do you think these episodes take place before the end of the Rebels epilogue?
I'm wondering that too. I was going to actually look up
there's a problem
of it.
There's a problem. Okay. So like,
is it that Ahsoka's Montrails are like 3 times as long?
No. So I'm kind of skipping to episode 2 again with this one, but we have to talk about it because it does have something to do with season 1. Season 1, quick mention to a character that showed up, by the way, which was let me think. Ryder. Yeah, Ryder Azadi. Yes, thank you. The Star Wars Rebels character, voiced by the same actor who plays him.
I wasn't sure if the guy.
Nancy Brand.
Yeah,
so good.
Oh, okay.
And also voice of Mr. Krabs.
That's funny. That's the guy who voices Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, you couldn't tell.
I don't think I'll ever be able to look at Mr. Krabs the same again.
He was the drill sergeant, or like one of the guys in Starship Troopers.
Oh, really?
He also played.
Oh, shoot. I recognize him now. Yeah.
He also played the big, huge, red horned. Wow, I'm blanking on their species name. It starts with a D. In season
Davronian?
Davronian, thank you. In Mandalorian, the guy who was eventually killed, I think, but he was like the big beefy guy when they staged that prison break. Like the red-skinned Davronian guy with the horns.
Yeah, I remember the scene.
He played him too. Yeah. So anyways, he shows up and there's a big, huge mural behind him, which is the same mural of the crew of the Ghost with Ezra, Sabine, Kanan, Zeb, Hera, Chopper, all on the front with some loath wolves and cats and this and that, right? And it's a mural that Sabine painted, I think, at one point to commemorate their time on Lothal together. And it's a commemorative ceremony dedicated to the still currently missing Commander Bridger, Ezra Bridger, who led the final battle against the the Empire on Lothal and liberated the planet. And the story is that entire crew of the Ghost stayed there during the events of the original trilogy in case the Empire came back for retaliation.
On Lothal?
Yeah, that's the reason why they don't show up in the movies. Okay, so after Ezra
I don't know
goes,
if I buy that.
Well, that's what Sabine says in the Rebels finale. But after Ezra leaves, right? After Ezra goes missing with Thrawn, Sabine has she stays there with most of the Ghost crew to kind of protect the planet unless the Empire comes back, but they don't, right? And so hence here we are. The people of Lothal, they're holding an honorary ceremony for the missing Commander Bridger. But here's the confusing part, okay? Ahsoka takes place during the events of season 3 of The Mandalorian, which is 11 ABY, okay? 11 years after the Battle of Yavin. That is how many years after Return of the Jedi was that? I guess 10, 9, 8, 7 years maybe.
To be honest, I forget how long after Return of the Jedi is from New Hope.
It's 1 year between 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, 3 years between 4 and 5. 1 year between 5 and 6.
So 4 years later.
So 4 years. So 4 years till the and then so that's 11 minus 4.
So 7.
7. Okay, so 7 years, right? In the Rebels finale, Sabine has a different number that she gives as to when she meets Ahsoka on that platform. Okay, and if the scene in the end of season 2 of episode 2, I did it as well. Season 2, episode 2 is supposed to be the same Rebels, or not.
We did so many Rebels seasons.
So my question to you guys is do you think that these episodes take place before the epilogue of Rebels, or do you think that scene is supposed to be a recreation at a later point in time as a parallel scene, or is it supposed to be the exact same scene?
Or is it a retcon?
I think it's the exact same scene because the way it's shot, almost panel by panel, matching up. So I think the first 2 episodes end at the end of the epilogue of Rebels. It's my guess. Yeah.
Okay, I got an audio bite to play for first before I play. What do you think?
To be honest, I can't remember the Rebels one well enough.
Okay. All right. Let me just play this this epilogue real quick. Take a listen to the number Sabine gives, or just what she says about the events that transpired.
The attack we all anticipated never came. The once invincible Empire had begun to fracture. The small rebellion had become bold. And with a decisive victory at the Battle of Endor, the Emperor's reign of terror came to an end. After the war, Zeb took Kallus along the secret hyperspace path to the planet Lyrasan. It was then that Kallus realized he hadn't destroyed the Lasat people, and that they were thriving on this new world. A world where he was welcome as one of them. Hera fought in the Battle of Endor, as did Commander Rex. By that time, there had been a new member added to the crew of the Ghost. Spectre 7, Jason Syndulla. born to fly, just like his mother. And well, we all know what his father was like. As for me, I used to think that Ezra was counting on me to protect Lothal, the planet and the people he cared for so much. But one day, I realized there was more to it. There was something else I was meant to do. Ezra's out there somewhere, and it's time to bring him home.
All right, so you get a shot of, almost shot for shot of the same kind of scene of Sabine touching the mural.
Yeah, that's not a coincidence.
Going off to Ahsoka. The difference...
She has the same haircut.
Biggest difference being Ahsoka not holding a staff, not in white robes. She's in the live action
why she have a staff?
show. She's... Well, the whole thing, the reason why she's got that whole staff thing, right, is Dave wanted her to be... like
Gandalf the White.
The Gandalf the White. Yeah, that's the whole kind of purpose, right? But in this show, she's still she's in like a gray robe. She's almost like a Gandalf the Grey moment, right? So like, did we just go backwards? Like, so that's what I'm thinking. Like, did she give like a year? She did say like a couple of years after or something. Am I going crazy, or did she say like 4 years?
She did. I missed it.
Dan, did you catch it?
Yeah, I didn't catch it.
Okay. I think
very crazy.
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy here, but yeah.
But it's like, if you listen to the determination in Sabine's voice, like, I feel like if this happened before, she wouldn't have just given up on looking for Ezra.
Right.
So this is, to me, this matches up with what we saw in episode 2.
Yeah. I think so too.
To me, I look at it a little differently. I look at it as if this scene in Rebels happened, and then it didn't go as planned. And then something happened between her and Ahsoka, which tore them apart. And now Ahsoka's reluctantly going back to her for help. And then we get a parallel scene to remind us that this has happened before. And now they're going off again.
She also cut her hair and dyed it to be exactly the same.
Well, I mean, I think she
she cut her hair.
It's not exactly, the haircut's not exactly the same. But like, I was like...
pretty dang close.
It's pretty close.
It's closer than any other haircut she's had in this series.
Yeah, well, like Ahsoka looks different and everything like that. So like, I'm just kind of like, and that was at sunset, and the Rebels one was like during the day, and like, I don't know. I
will say also, I noticed the building was in ruins in the animated version. Or is there like a memorial in the Ahsoka series?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So that's another thing, right? Like, maybe I'm just trying to think like how this all works exactly, because unless we just never saw between the finale of season 4 of Rebels and the start of this show, if we just never saw them kind of, training with each other, it means that the scene that Ahsoka shows up to collect Sabine is like in that moment. I just feel like that was like the first moment that they've kind of like, talked to Ahsoka like since she showed up again.
It seemed like it. I know what you mean.
But in this,
but we also didn't have any context there, right? So,
right. I don't know. In this scene, it just feels like they've already been traipsing around trying to look for Ezra. Or something.
Well, we've already seen this happen with Dave Filoni when he is taking stuff from the books and changed and altered stuff, like Ahsoka beating her first Inquisitor.
Yeah.
And re-getting her crystals. So I think it's supposed to be overall the same, to portray the same idea, but it's just been altered slightly.
Yeah.
Sorry to burst your bubble. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Here's another thing, is in this episode, we get a hologram that was designed just for Sabine. And it's audio from Ezra that we didn't hear before, because his hologram to the group of them is different than the one that plays on this device, unless that's also a retcon, and maybe it is supposed to be the same recording, but it's just done differently.
Maybe it's later in it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I thought that was weird
because it's very specific to her, right? Whereas like the one that that they play for the group in the Rebels finale is like different.
Did he have time to record personal messages to all of them?
That's the thing. Is like I think he thought long and hard about this, right? And that's kind of what I was saying earlier about the whole when he was meditating on Lothal, he clearly had a few options that he had to consider, and he went with the one that he was guided to pick. But you know,
it's his Padawan, right? So I could see him recording one just for Sabine.
Yeah. I think he would have had the time to kind of do something like that, right? Like, but yeah, I don't know. I've got so many questions as for like the time frame of this show, because you know it's supposed to overlap with season 3 of Mandalorian, but that scene where with Rebels, you know, in Rebels with Ahsoka and Sabine, it seems like it takes place way closer to Return of the Jedi. Like almost like it happened a few years prior to this event, and now it's happening again. That's just the feeling that I get, but I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. Maybe you guys might be right. It's one of the.
You got to ask Pablo, man.
It's one of the two. Yeah. Let's see here. Dark Jedi. What do you guys think of orange lightsabers and Dark Jedi? And then we'll move on to episode 2.
I want to know if what's that guy's name?
Balin.
I'm gonna say Bear Sophie. not her. Balin. I want to know what happened with his story in the fact that he has a red lightsaber, she has an orange one, correct?
They both have orange lightsabers.
They're both orange.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea within the Jedi Order if they have orange, or is orange more of a Sith thing? Because I'm wondering how we got this color of crystal.
Well, yeah.
Because if he's a fallen Jedi who then has an apprentice.
Okay, so
they partially bled it.
Dan, you remember that scene in Jedi Survivor when what's that dude's name? Dagan something?
Dagan, yeah.
Dagan Alley?
Yeah, Dagan something. He's the villain he's a High Republic Jedi that's been frozen sort of in stasis in a Bacta tank for years, hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And Cal Kestis finds him and wakes him up. And he gets out, and it turns out he's a villain. So he's got a yellow lightsaber, I think it is. But in the moment that he's talking to Cal as to like kind of revealing his plan as to why he was kind of trapped there for so long, he begins to get really angry, and he dismantles his lightsaber in that moment and takes the kyber crystal and almost he like attempts a bleeding sort of thing on it as he like crushes it in his hand, and he's like kind of pouring his anger into it a little bit, and it turns the blade orange. It doesn't go red though. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because he is trying to make it bleed, but because he's not a Sith Lord, you know, he's not able to get it that deep, right? So I think the color red really does symbolize like it's a successful bleed, like this is why it's red, sort of thing. Gosh. Right?
So you're saying that if you don't have the full power of a Sith, then it'll just become more reddish?
I think it's a symbol. Yeah, I think it symbolizes just how deep they're able to go.
Okay, so if you had a yellow saber, it would go orange.
Well, yellow though is a color that they can find, I think.
Yeah, but basically what I'm saying is, yeah, you can't, because we see the Jedi Temple Guards have yellow.
Yeah.
So yellow goes orange on its way to red. Does that mean that
I think it's
Mace Windu had bled into his crystal?
I mean, maybe that's like a fan theory.
That's why it's purple.
Yeah, maybe. But no, it's one of those things. I think you know, like there's some. I don't think there's like a science behind like what color goes. I think they all go orange if a Jedi were to bleed their blade. You know, I think they all go orange in that scenario.
What's between green and red? It's like brown, right? You have a brown lightsaber?
No. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Dan, what do you think of that?
Sounds like that could be the case. Like
Balin and Shin, maybe they did a whole Dark Jedi kind of ritual on their lightsabers and
just over time, maybe.
And if he's not strong enough to you know, like he's not full Sith, then I could see like orange being like, you know, the middle ground. He couldn't quite get the red.
Hugh Yang's story about this guy is that because he doesn't know Shin's too young, but this dude he says that he went missing at the end of the Clone Wars, And it's not super far-fetched to believe that he became a Dark Jedi, although most of the Dark Jedi that we've come to know have all turned into Inquisitors. Now, don't even get me started as to how they got their red lightsaber crystals, because they definitely did not believe them themselves, right?
Darth Vader he's just got an assembly line of crystals. He's making for them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of how it works. But at the same time, it's not super far-fetched to believe that some Jedi did turn but didn't become Inquisitors. Like, you can take the Pong Krell Umbara arc, for example. He was a Jedi that just went bad. And he when the clones asked him, was like, who are you fighting for? He says, like, I'm no Jedi and like I'm no Sith. Like, I'm going to become an agent of Dooku's, an agent of of his right
self-interest.
Yeah, self-interest, right? So like maybe
it could be that he was in exile, trying to not be discovered by the Empire,
right?
And just toiled with his own distrust and hatred of what happened, and then slowly turned dark with just bad thoughts, right? Or maybe he's in exile hiding somewhere that has Sith influence, and then he just took in a lot of the dark energy from there.
Yeah.
Because there's an old comic about that.
There was another Dark Jedi that showed up in canon so far as well, in Jedi Fallen Order, by the name of Taron Malicos, who was on Dathomir, that's right. And he was a bit of a boss to fight, but that was another guy, Jedi Master gone crazy in the middle of nowhere, stranded, affected by the Night Sisters' magic and power hungry and
the Dark Force energies of Dathomir.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean I like it. I like this whole thing. I want to know kind of more about him, more about his story, and more about Jin.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I really want to get an explanation to it. There's got to be something there.
Yeah. Fellas, should we move on to episode 2? And we already covered most of the notes for episode 2.
We covered a lot.
We covered a lot, so this will be quick.
These 2 episodes have a lot of overlap.
There is, yeah. I'll read the summary, read the stats, and then we can wrap up the rest of this conversation. Okay, so this episode, part 2 of Ahsoka, it's called Toil and Trouble. This episode is directed by Steph Green and written by Dave Filoni. It was also released on August 22nd, 2023. And the summary reads, Sabine Wren recovers and informs Ahsoka of her findings and also traces the droids that attacked her to Elsbeth's factories on Corellia. Seeking the star map, Ahsoka and Syndulla travel to the Corellian shipyards in time to see a massive hyperdrive built for Elsbeth's ship to travel to Thrawn's location in a neighboring galaxy, or so we assume. The transport carrying the hyperdrive escapes, but not before Chopper attaches a tracking device. After arresting the shipyard workers as spies for the Empire, Ahsoka is contacted by Wren, who is ready to become her Padawan again and find Bridger. Elsbeth is contacted by Skull, Hati, and Merrick, who obtained the hyperdrive so they can finish building her ship called the Eye of Sion and find Admiral Thrawn. We got a wicked lightsaber duel between Ahsoka and Merrick in this episode. We haven't chatted enough about Merrick already. What do you guys think about Merrick being the last Inquisitor?
Where the heck did he come from?
I don't know, but he looks pretty rusty to me. I mean...
You know what? Should we talk about this? Okay, right after this, we should talk about the Sabine and Shin fight, which we didn't mention.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Okay, but as far as, I almost wondered if he's not an Inquisitor, but someone who trained in the Inquisitor fighting style because they found a lightsaber.
Yeah, maybe. Dan, what's your theory?
I think it might be a surprise reveal. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but like the costume and everything, like I think it's going to be somebody. One of my friends thinks, and I don't agree with him, but he's like, what if it's Ezra? Like, what if they're pulling a Tron Legacy? I'm like, how would they bring it back and not Thrawn? Like, no.
Man, can you imagine if that was like Ezra? Because, like, let's not forget, Ezra and Ahsoka have like known each other a long time, right? Like, the last time Ahsoka saw Ezra, he was pulling her through the world between worlds and saving her life from Darth Vader. So, I mean, that's a crazy theory, and I
got a better one.
It's interesting.
Cal Kestis.
Oh.
Like he went full dark and
Because he's around during that era of the Inquisitors. Because the thing is, once you hit the original trilogy film era, there's no more Inquisitors. So it's got to be someone from before that.
Unless there is. Maybe it's this guy, right? Like maybe he was just kind of way the frick out somewhere. And
maybe he was such a bad Inquisitor, just washed out. They kicked him out of the school, and then everything fell apart.
Thrawn all this time.
Yeah, maybe he has been looking for Thrawn all this time. Maybe
it's possible.
That's totally possible. Yeah,
he's given this pointless mission where the whole Empire collapses.
Yeah. His armor is pretty rusty, and it's seen.
I did not like his armor.
It looks very like medieval-y kind of.
It's too medieval-y.
It's too medieval-y?
Yeah, it just looks like a knight they painted black.
I didn't mind it.
It's like they took it out of the British Museum.
Could he be a Knight of Ren?
I wondered that too.
I don't know. I mean, I read that Rise of Kylo Ren comic book, and all those
they all look like that.
They all just seem like regular schmucks that have put on a mask. Like that was kind of their whole gig. Was like they're just a bunch of they're like a boys band that just kind of goes around causing ruckus. That's pretty
Sounds
much
like Kylo Ren.
That's pretty much what they made them out to be in the comic. Yeah,
that's why he's so angsty.
Yeah,
at least they didn't drive around mopeds.
Someone tells me you didn't like the moped scene.
Oh man. Oh, we talked extensively about the mopeds, didn't we, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, I actually like the idea that this dude is like the last Inquisitor. You know, like this is the last guy running around thinking he's serving the Emperor, and even though he's gone, he's got like one singular last mission that he wants to accomplish. And you know, I don't think he's
he's in on the First Order stuff.
I mean, yeah, well, maybe, right? Because like as we know, like as
I talk about the shipyards, like I like that, like there's nobody still loyal to the Empire, and it's like no, there's a whole room full of people still loyal to the Empire.
Secret Nazis,
the Imperial Rebellion. Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I actually liked that scene a lot.
I liked that.
Because I think that would have happened quite a bit.
I think that would have happened quite a bit. I mean,
people are so indoctrinated.
Right. Yeah, you think back to World War II and the remnants of kind of the Nazi forces. There must have been
still some... now, man. There's leftover Nazi stuff like South America. Like they have their own like societies.
Well, there were people being hunted down in like the 60s or something, right?
Oh yeah,
like,
that was a big thing. The CIA
hiding in South America.
Yeah, so like I like this idea. It's very rooted in reality that there would be Imperial loyalists still, and as we come to learn from the Mandalorian, there's still people working for sort of the Empire in a way. From that season as well, like, season 3, it was, what's his face? Dr. Pershing? Dr. Pershing.
I almost said Dr. Afro.
Gets sucked
the other
in.
One.
Dr. Afro is the girl from the comics.
From the comics, yeah.
No, Dr. Pershing, the cloner guy, like he gets sucked in with that girl who he meets at the,
she tricks him, yeah.
The program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, and she tricks him, and it turns out she's actually probably working with Moff Gideon and the Imperials, right?
Anyone who knows information, she's trying to root about and get their memories erased.
Yeah, it's interesting though. So I actually kind of like that. I thought like that wasn't super far fetched to believe that the New Republic would have the ignorance to just ignore what's happening on Corellia and just be like,
man. Well, again, with the Nazis in World War II, that's what they did here, like North America. They brought a bunch of Nazi scientists over, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's right.
Like, the war's over, so they'll be loyal to us now.
Well, like, I mean, have you guys seen Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm.
That's exactly
same thing.
Exactly, yeah, same thing. That's right. What I really liked was the parallel with that whole attitude and the scene with Dr. Pershing being in Mandalorian, talking to that droid who just, he just checks in with him every day to see like
therapist droid.
But it's like a lousy therapist droid because you just ask the same questions every day, and it's just like a routine, like, give us the correct response, and then you're good to go, right? Like, little check. All right, next, right? It's like, okay, some true Imperial loyalist would not, they would lie about it and get out of there, no problem. So, to me, I thought it was like spot on that they would be building stuff right in front of people's noses. And like,
you just hide it in the books, right? I'm sure they make so much stuff.
Yeah.
It's like just easy.
Giant, massive hyperspace. Where's that going? It's for one of those ships. All right, cool.
Yeah, and the vast majority of people have no idea what's going on.
Totally.
They don't understand until Hera shows up and actually has an understanding, right?
Exactly.
And the rank to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was so good. So well done.
Yeah, she's like, I'm a general. I have authorization. Like,
yeah. I love the one guy just kind of gets cold feet, or he just kind of like the last second, like, for the Empire! Because they probably could have gotten away with it if they just drug it out a little longer.
Yeah. The Eye of Sion, named after an EU Legends character, Darth Sion, the name of the hyperspace ring.
I recognize that name.
The Eye of Sion, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the guy who's
dead.
Undead. Yeah,
He's like a zombie guy.
He's alive through just the forcing himself to keep living through the Force, keeping his body together.
Yeah, he's like held
is that
together
like a
by
dark thing, or
it's from KOTOR 2.
Yeah, KOTOR 2. He's basically only alive because of the power of the dark side. Otherwise, he's dead.
Yeah, like he's been killed multiple times. Like anyone else would have, but just through the sheer will of the Force.
Yep. It's kind of stupid if you ask me, but also
the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Can you imagine though if that I think we got away with one instance, which was Darth Maul. Like I'll buy that, but like at the same time it's like I hope it doesn't happen again. And then we got Palpatine popping back up and it's like really like
he's a clone though.
The Dark Towers, they're trying to cheat death. Like,
yeah, I hate the fact that he succeeded though. That's the whole thing. It's like he shouldn't have succeeded. All right, Secret Hyperdrive Space Ring. I love it. It looks like this thing was built for a Star Destroyer in size. Like, not super hard to believe. Like they've planned this for a while. Trying to find Thrawn. Like they've been building this giant hyperspace ring. Big enough for a big cruiser. Maybe to bring a cruiser back. Right. Maybe they come here. Who knows? Sorry, you want to talk about the Shin and...
Yeah, we skipped over that because...
Yeah. Oh, that's a great scene. Like, that caught me by surprise. I was like,
when she gets Qui-Gon'd?
Died.
Qui-Gon'd?
That's what it looked like.
Oh, yo, you just got Qui-Gon'd. Yeah, she's Qui-Gon'd.
There you go.
Yeah, gone.
Sorry, Dan, you were saying...
Lightsaber fight.
It was a good lightsaber fight, yeah.
Felt a little slow and sloppy, I thought.
Well, I mean, like, she's not a Force user and...
No, I meant more from a directorial perspective.
Oh, yeah. Okay, my criticism with this show, though, is the lightsaber duels so far not as good as the prequels for Jedi that have experience, It should be faster.
I say the same thing with Ahsoka as well. Yeah, exactly. It just feels like everything's a little bit too slow.
Yeah, it does. Feels like it's been dialed down about 25%. We need to, faster, more intense, kind of knock it up a bit.
In post, they should have just
playing around like multiple times and doing cartwheels and
yeah,
they should be doing backflips all over the place.
You know what they should do is they should just not use lightsabers entirely. Just flail their arms around at all the lightsabers in post.
Just like in your videos.
Then you get like.
Was this our first time seeing HK droids?
No, we saw them in Mandalorian. I believe.
Right. Yeah,
I think those are HK droids.
Mandalorian,
which were also with Shin.
That's right.
Shin? No, Shin. Sorry, with Morgan.
And Shin. Yeah. Shin brought them to Lothal.
Yeah, sorry, but I mean in Mandalorian they were with Morgan.
Yeah. Yes, in that little village. Yeah, and those ones had the 7th Fleet on the badge.
Oh, they did
on the pauldron. Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
The little emblem, Thrawn's emblem. So, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but
do you feel like Qui-Gon should have lived if we see Sabine get stabbed and she's fine?
Okay, well, here's my take. And then Dan, I want to hear your answer too, because so my take on it is Qui-Gon was just stabbed right through the direct chest.
Heart, I think.
And I feel like that was more fatal, whereas like Sabine's injury looked like it was more to the side.
Yeah,
it's like
in episode 2.
Shot in the side, like as long as you don't lose a kidney or something, you're gonna be fine.
Darth Maul got cut in half.
Yeah, but Darth Maul's not human.
He felt like a garbage compactor.
We don't know what his biology's like.
I think it was more at the waist, like just above the dick. I think that's where it was.
This is a family show, Josh. Put it away.
I don't know. I think that's where it was. It wasn't like through his weight, through his stomach or anything like that. I think it was a bit lower.
And the Force kept. Well, I guess Qui-Gon could have used the Force to stay alive, but.
Yeah. Okay. What really kind of annoys me though is again, like I hate to bring the hate on episode 9 again, but the whole like force healing thing, like with Kylo Ren when he got stabbed through the stomach, and then Rey just kind of like heals him up. It's like, okay, you're good to go. And then that threw a huge curveball to me because I was like, if only like Obi-Wan knew how to do that, or any Jedi alive in that time.
Yeah, but they're not
After
Rey.
playing 100 hours of Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, Jedis can heal themselves.
Well, they Cal keeps taking a stim packs.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So, but like, you know, a direct like slice to the, you know, the gut.
Did you notice
They should
that,
probably carry stims too, though. It's a dangerous job.
Did you notice that Ahsoka used, it seemed like she used Echo Sense when she was solving that puzzle?
Yeah,
in the
that was
room?
cool.
That was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Hear the sounds of the past.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
pretty
cool.
sweet. I liked that a lot.
And I liked when Sabine was being, when she was in the hospital room, you saw a Medroid.
Old
Yeah.
school for original trilogy. Same one, Empire. Yeah.
Same one with the microphone mouth.
That's right.
Yeah, I like that too. That was a great cameo.
Take care, sir.
What other cameos we have in this? Jai Kel. Jai Kel showed up.
Oh, yeah.
Loth cats.
The Loth. Oh yeah, the Loth cats.
That's like,
Now Jai is
he's
he
a
was
senator now.
yeah, he's the senator of Lothal now. He was the kid that we met in Star Wars Rebels in when Ezra went undercover.
I did not recognize him.
He
Yeah,
was at the Imperial's Academy, like.
that's right.
So it was nice seeing like a full arc with his character, like.
Yeah. Nice to see that he's still on Lothal kicking. We saw him last in Rebels season 4. He
When
was
joined the rebellion.
Yeah, and he was helping Ezra and in the episode that we most recently talked about.
Yeah,
and then
which is funny because I didn't recognize it in the series, and we literally just recorded the Rebels episode.
Yeah,
about
that's
him.
right. Well,
I also forgot him in that.
yeah, he had like longer hair in that episode. I was like, oh, who is that again? Like, oh yeah. And now he
Who's
shows up
watching
again.
Kira's child? I guess son, right?
I don't know. That's a good question. Jason is
When
around.
did she get pregnant? I was gonna wait till Rebels, but I don't get it.
Yeah. Let's wait till Rebels about that because like I think that was something I mentioned that I wanted to like
Okay.
let that happen. But
We'll table that one.
we'll table that one until next time when inevitably this kid's gotta show up because you know he is in the Lego set. So you know, spoilers.
Lego, you did it again.
Yeah.
Goes forever.
That's right. Couple animated characters showing up in the show. Just notable mentions: Jai Kel, Ryder Azadi, Harrison Dula. We had the hologram of Ezra Bridger, Sabine Wren, Chopper, Ahsoka Tano, of course, and Hu Yang from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, who is the droid who gives all the little youngling Jedi their instructions on how to make a lightsaber for the first time.
I like him. Is he from High Order? Is he like that old?
He's been a long time. He's been around for hundreds of years within the Jedi Order.
So he's like Z from Jedi Survivor.
Yes, exactly. And he's voiced by David Tennant.
Which I thought did a great job.
Oh, he did a great job. I watched so much Doctor Who that I could not hear Tennant doing it, but I still loved every minute of it. He's my favorite Doctor.
Yeah.
And I like I'm guessing he was animated, or I don't know how much of it's practical, how much is CG, but like
it looked good.
His movements were very robotic, very like.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really nice. However, they did that effect really nice. You know, paid off nicely. So
I really love his design. His robot looks like he has a mustache, like a Fu Manchu.
yeah, he's good.
Do you think we're gonna see more Zeb? I know we saw him in Mandalorian.
Yeah, brief moment in Mandalorian. I hope he shows up again. Yeah,
he's got to. How could they not?
Yeah. You know what would be really cool is to see Agent Callus show up.
I would love to see Agent Callus, but like, yeah, I haven't heard anything about them.
Yeah. He was on Lothal, not Lothal. He's in the new
planet. Well, Zeb took him there to show him.
Yeah,
but I don't know if he stayed there.
Good question. Yeah, good point.
Because Zeb shows up again, right? Because Zeb shows up in the New Republic.
Zeb doesn't want to be with his people, though. He helps them find the planet, and then he gets out of there like immediately.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean,
he's like, oh yeah, I forgot how much I hate my people.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm the child.
Do you think we'll see the wolves?
Boy, say it.
Do you think we'll see the wolves? Because apparently, like, you know, they kind of hinted that Kanan is one of the wolves, like, you know, the one that says Dune.
Yeah,
that's him. What is this?
In Rebels, they were kind of hinting at
he becomes the wolf.
Well, We'll get into it. We'll get into it in Rebels, but in Rebels Talk, we'll get into that. But yeah, there's a possibility that his kind of essence in the Force lingers with the wolves on Lothal, and I think they even mentioned it verbally at some point that sometimes. What was it, Dan? Again, it was like.
Do you think we'll see Ahsoka's owl?
Probably.
Ahsoka's what?
I feel like they'd have to. It follows her everywhere.
Oh, Morai, the bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope so.
That gets into like a lot more. I don't know how spiritual they're going to go with the live action stuff, but I mean.
Oh, that's where it's from. She tells Ezra that Morai's been around, as she's an old friend, right? And she saved her life once, I think she says, which really hints at the fact that Morai is the Mortis trilogy. Yeah, it's the remaining life force of the daughter on Mortis. Yeah. So,
that's when you first see the bird show up.
That's also the first time you see the transfer of life force in Star Wars before Episode 9.
Take that, Rey.
Yeah, the Force healing thing though was, that's another thing. But like the Force essence, the life transfer thing. Ahsoka is a living embodiment of the daughter's life force, and then Morai is like the remnants of that. Like it's believed to be that this bird is like kind of what's left of the daughter, right? So that would be really cool to see her again, because Morai is a big deal. Like when it comes to Ahsoka and the Rebels animated show, like anytime we see Ahsoka, you see Morai. So it would make sense, to have her show up again. Man, I don't know. We covered so much stuff. I don't even know what more to say about these two episodes. They're super great. We got to give our Pablo points and poodos, and then maybe we can wrap it up. But
should we do both of them together?
We can do one review. We can do separately. We can do separately. But they can have the same score. Like
no, on an average.
Yeah. Episode 1. Let's do some Pablo points and poodos. So for all those of you who are just joining us and don't know what our our whole score system is on the podcast, it's a score of 7. So 3 Pablo poodos is the absolute worst of the worst of the worst. Moving up from there, you got 2 Pablo poodos, 1 Pablo poodo, and then a 50% score is a Bendu. That's Bendu, the one in the middle. And then you got Pablo points. You got 1 Pablo point, 2 Pablo points, and 3 Pablo points. 3 being the best of the best of the best. So Dan, we'll start with you. Episode 1, Master and Apprentice. What do you give it?
I rate both episodes the same. I give it 2, and the only reason why I don't go higher is because I do have like lingering questions about like the map thing. Even though I kind of explained it in my head, it still doesn't. I still don't know where that's going to go. And but otherwise, I really enjoyed the episodes. I don't have any real complaints. It has me wanting to see where it's going to go, what's going to come next.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. What about episode 2?
To me, it was just like one big episode. I saw them back to back, and I don't really. One didn't.
Fair enough. So 2 points for both.
I don't have any different.
2 points for both. That's a pretty great score. It's yeah. What would you?
Dan, did you understand how the rating system works?
Blake, what'd you give it?
I have the same issues with the first episode with Dan. I think that I will say us chatting about it made me feel a little better about the idea of the map, but I still am hesitant because it's got to be confirmed.
Makes you nervous.
And I didn't like Hera's casting, or at least I didn't like the actress's portrayal of Hera.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the first one I'll say 1.5, and the second one I'll give it 2 because of that. It was just a little more enjoyable.
All right, sweet.
2 Pablo points.
1.5 is still a good score.
I did not like it.
It's still better than good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd much rather watch this than say the Rebel episode where they're looking for fruit. So
I would give the Melu run fruit.
Yeah, that one.
You did all this.
Wait, which episode?
For fruit.
Fuji fruit.
It was a season 1 episode. What was that one again?
It's season 1.
Oh, when they're in the market and it's
they steal the TIE fighter.
Yeah, they steal the TIE fighter. Yeah. Okay, this is tough because I think the only thing, I would agree with you on the Hera casting thing. I don't know if that drags it down for me too much to actually verbally say a lower score, but I think the biggest thing for me is the retcon possibility. So for me,
that's episode 2.
Episode 2, yes. So episode 1, I'm gonna give it 2 Pablo points. For episode 2, I'm gonna give it 1.5, assuming that it retcons the animated show, right? And if it does not retcon the animated show, I'm gonna give it 2 Pablo points.
Okay.
So take it as you will. As we go forward through the series, you'll find out which score it deserves. But so I feel like
Pablo, you need to decide how many points we're getting here by telling us what happens.
Yeah, Pablo's the answer.
Sorry, you were saying, Dan?
Oh no, I'm just saying like it's a sliding scale, that episode for Josh.
Yeah, it's a sliding scale. Yeah. It is indeed. All right, fellas, it was a pleasure to have you both on, and we look forward to more Ahsoka after shows in the near future as the episodes go by. How many? Do we know how many episodes there are? Yeah, how many?
Did Disney announce that?
They did. So this I can confirm, actually. Hold on. 8. There's 8 episodes, including all the announced directors. So next week's episode will be directed by Steph Green and written by Dave Filoni.
Seth Green?
Steph Green, not Seth Green. So that's the same as part 2, Toil and Trouble. Part 3 will have the same set of creatives. And then should I just run through the directors real quick? Every episode is written by Dave Filoni, just so you know. The whole show is written by Dave Filoni. The directors that remain is starting from episode 3, Steph Green. Then we get Peter Ramsey. Then Dave Filoni again for episode 5. We got Jennifer Getzinger for episode 6. Gita Paddle for episode 7. And Rick Famuyiwa from The Mandalorian for episode 8 for the finale. So cool stuff. We got a variety in there. Dave doing 2 of them himself.
I'm curious then, because this show was advertised as like Dave Filoni's like first time, helming it himself.
Well, he wrote the whole show.
Okay. So does that mean that Mando was more in Jon Favreau's?
I mean, he's also maybe. I mean,
direction?
Like Mandalorian has multiple writers on it. Like this is the first.
It seemed like Dave and John were pretty together about that.
For season 3, John wrote most of the season. Dave helped co-write 2 of the episodes, and there was someone who helped co-write with John on episode 3. But the majority of season 3 was all John.
How much did Dave Filoni have to do with the other 2 seasons?
Season 2, Dave had 1 episode. John had most of it. Rick had episode 7. And then in season 1, John had most of it as well, with episode 6 being shared. But and then Dave did episode 5. So yeah, John's wrote most of Mandalorian, and Dave's kind of been there to help.
Okay.
So I mean,
there we go. So that's the difference then.
Yeah, that's the difference.
So
yeah,
that's why it's Rebels season 5.
That's exactly. That's why it's Rebels season 5 because
Dave gets to play with his toys again.
That's right, Dave's toy box.
We definitely need to do a segment of the episode. Called Dave's Toy Box.
Hey John, you can keep playing with your toys. I'm gonna play with mine now.
Hey, that was mine.
All right, sounds good. All right, let me think. Is there any last minute things you want to bring up?
Covered all my notes.
Okay, how many episodes of Rebels Talk do you have left for people who are following us on Rebels Talk? 3?
Well, you haven't released all of them yet, but
I think we got 3. 2 more. We got to record 2 more, and we have 3 left to release.
There you go.
So there we are.
So
close. And Dan, I hope you're going to join us again on the after show for Ahsoka. But any last minute things you want to say?
No, just happy that there's more Star Wars. Enjoying the ride.
Heck
no
yeah.
more mopeds.
Good way to sign off. Take it away, Blake.
We'll see you out there. Keep flying.
All right. Thank you so much to all of you guys who tuned in to the podcast this far. And we hope that you join us for the rest of the adventure, journeying through Ahsoka. And for those of you who have been following us with Rebels Talk, we have more episodes dropping soon. And then we'll be finished up that series. So sorry for the overlap, but we're so close. we're almost there, and we got a quick message from a friend here.
Republic forces have deemed Star Wars Escape Pod as the recommended source for news and entertainment. Subscribe, leave a voicemail, and share this show with a brother.
Share this show with a brother. Oh, crap. There it is. Planned again. All right, yeah. But good ways to reach us are in the description below. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram and all things YouTube with the handle at SW Escape Podcast. Our email is swescapepodcast@gmail.com. And most recently, news being you can look for custom artwork showing up on all our sub-series across the podcast. So, not the same old logo anymore. This episode will be the first to have a published, unique episode artwork for the sub-series for Ahsoka. And we'll be publishing out all those going backwards through aftershows that we've already done. So, cool new update to the show. Looking forward to hearing all of you guys. If you can leave a review, that would be absolutely fantastic. 5 stars always helps us out a lot. Helps other people find the show. And with that being said, may the Force be with you, and we'll see you in the next episode of Star Wars Escape Pod.